my name is Danae Dinkle, and this video is additional ways to be physically active. The objective of this video is to think about ways to incorporate physical activity outside of active learning or active breaks, which was discussed in a previous video. The outline is to talk about activity during transition periods, test routines, indoor recess, start and end of school day routines, as well as general classroom ideas. First off, transition periods. Now, JP mentioned in the active learning versus active breaks that active breaks are really great to incorporate during those transitions between one subject to the other. It's also really a great way to think about transitions from maybe within your classroom to outside of incorporating different locomotor movements. So instead of just walking, maybe they do high knees marching, maybe do a little bit of bunny hops, maybe while they're standing in line and are safely away from their friends, maybe doing some arm circles or things like that. But just thinking about some other ways that they could do some locomotor movements during that transition. You could also think about incorporating physical activity into common classroom management tasks. So things such as if students go to get a drink, they could do lunges in the hallway to go to the water fountain, and they answer a question in class, they have to stand. When they go to sharpen a pencil or hand in an assignment to your desk, maybe they have to reach to the ceiling after every step. Other things you can think about before leaving the classroom for lunch or other specials, the whole class has to do a certain number of jumping jacks or mountain climbers. Again, if you make this part of your routine, it's just a great way to incorporate a little bit more movement into their day. The next thing we'll talk about is test routines. So test routines, you can also use physical activity in this as well, either during the review process and or right before or after the test. So an example of using this for the review process would be for note card questions. So you can write review questions on note cards, set them up around the room, and kids have to get up and walk or bunny hop or something else if you wanted to use a locomotor movement. Write down those answers and then move on to the next one, and they could hand this in as part of their review. For non-graded quizzes, you could have students move to different parts of the room to answer multiple choice questions. So you could designate one corner A, B, C, D, and you could put up signs so that it's the same all the time. Students know where they're going and it's not a confusion of what did you say was A, B, C, D? And then you ask a question and you could have students move quickly to the answer that they think is correct. Additionally, you could incorporate physical activity before test procedures. So either before a test to get the wiggles out or get students ready to focus, you can do one of those active breaks, brain breaks that was discussed previously or in the resources, or you could do it afterwards to just get some of that stress, anxiety after taking a test. Another opportunity for physical activity is in indoor recess. So some of those different resources that you learned about in the active learning versus active breaks, this is a great opportunity to use them in indoor recess as well. It's also would be really good to create a set of indoor recess rules and list of appropriate activities that the students agree upon, and then they're posted so that if students have questions about what they can do, or if you have a sub in your classroom, they also know what are acceptable activities that students can do to move their bodies. If you do have, or if students have access to iPads or other different computers, we would encourage you to not allow that during indoor recess time, just to encourage some more movement and some time away from that screen. Indoor recess is also a really great opportunity to do whole class games. It doesn't have to be for the entire time, but you could use the first 5 or 10 minutes to do that. You could use 4 corners, so that same ABCD opportunity that we talked about before. You could do some more fun questions like everyone's favorite music artist or movie or something like that, have them choose between those 4. You could do freeze dance, you could do charades, you could do as Simon Says with stretches, aerobics, or Pilates. You could also look up, there's some good YouTube channels that have more active movements. So one that became popular in the last few months is called PE with Joe, and they have more moderate to vigorous physical activities that students can do in a relatively small space. Another idea in terms of indoor recess to encourage activity is to actively supervise. So if you walk around the room, encourage movement, and do activities with the students, they'll probably be more likely to be involved in those activities as well. One final idea is to think about assigning each student a recess buddy. This could help those more isolated students be more likely to be included, or those who are less active be more likely to participate in some of those activities and hopefully benefit everyone. So the start and end of school day is another opportunity to incorporate physical activity. This could be morning movement routines. So whether you have that movement of the day or movement of the week, you could start each day with 5 squats for this week, or maybe you have each day is a certain activity or certain movement that you do and you rotate each day, and that's consistent throughout the semester or something like that. You could also do a sign language good morning. So you teach students the sign language for good morning. So, good morning. And then students have to go around and say that to 5 students before they can sit in their desk. Same thing at the end of the school day before students leave. You could do a good afternoon, and they have to do that for 5 students. You could do the same movement at the end of the day. You could have students walk around and share something that went well or something that they want to improve upon. And again, just making it part of like your normal routine that they do, it can make it really easy to continue to take part in some of these simple ways of short physical activity throughout the day. And finally, just some other general classroom ideas. It's really great to have student activity leaders either of the day or of the week, and then they can either choose the activity, or you could have a popsicle sticks with activities written on them for those students who have more difficulty choosing, and they get to lead the activity if they want. And these could relate to those physical activity themes as well. If you have like a sports theme of the week, or just a different type of movement of the week. Maybe an arm circle is one day, and but again, students can get up and lead these. You could also do a physical activity challenge, so giving them 30 seconds to get as many steps in as they could, and do that, have them count that, and they could write those down and then add them up for some additional math homework or math practice. The really important thing with this is to make it individualized and not a competition between students. So avoid having a winner of the challenge, and just recognize those individual accomplishments. So if they are writing them down, just seeing like, oh, that's great that you got more, and recognizing that individually. I know there was a little bit of talk in a previous video about having a bulletin board and activity wall. Another great idea with this is to take advantage of the resource that we have provided through UNL Extension, Nebraska Extension. They have a program that's called Marathon Kids. Typically it's run with after school programs, but it gives kids an opportunity to track a marathon, and you could do this as a classroom. So they have a really great tracker sheet, and they also have a conversion. So instead of tracking how far you walked or ran or whatever, it tells you how many minutes of physical activity you do and what that equates to a mile. So if you keep track of the length of time that you're active, you can, track that way through your marathon. So you get to 26.2 miles, and then you can have some type of classroom celebration. It doesn't have to be big. Maybe it's reading a special book or having the principal come and read a book or something like that. Or having one less homework assignment or something, but that can be a fun way to encourage teamwork on the physical activity within your classroom. And last is physical activity bingo cards. There are a plethora of these out there. We put together just a quick resource in the resource tab that has, some of them have just words, some of them have pictures for those who may not know how to read quite yet or have difficulty reading. And you can set these on student desks, and you could call out activities throughout the day, or you could use this as an indoor recess break. But this provides, again, another fun way just to incorporate physical activity. For additional resources, be sure to check out the information on the resources page, and thanks for listening.